It's Hack Yeah. We're breaking the mold. Code breakers here, dropping gems of gold. From boardroom plays to cubicle hacks, we crack the code so you don't fall flat.
And I'm the Pathfinder, clearing the way, helping you rise up every work day. From first jobs to next level tracks, we teach what works, no fluff, just facts. Hack what, hack yeah.
Alright, welcome back to Hack Yeah, where we are breaking down the hacks that help you thrive at work and in life. I'm Gary Cam, aka the co-founder.
I'm Kim, the Pathfinder, and today we're diving into a topic that every professional, early career or mid-career, or later in the career, has to figure out: personal branding, or as we call it, brand you.
Brand you, I like that. So because in the corporate world, every email, every meeting is like a mini audition. I like what you actually bring that up to me. The question is, are you winning opportunity with your personal brand, or are you just branding into the background?
Whoa, and to help us crack that code, we've got a very special guest, Uky Chong, founder and CEO of ToXPAND.
Yes.
Uky brings over 2 decades of experience driving revenue and building high-performing sales teams. He's led organizations to hundreds of millions in pipeline, 150 plus growth year over year, and now at ToXPAND, he's built a demand generation business on one guiding principle: doing what's right always. Love that. Because in both sales and personal branding, trust is the ultimate growth multiplier.
Yep, and in this interview, Uky is going to share his personal story and actionable hacks to help early career professional like you to start strong, and mid-career professional to rebrand themselves to get unstuck. The main takeaway is you are the product, and the learning to market that product authentically and confidently is key to accelerating your career. So Uky, welcome to Hack Yeah.
Thanks, Gary, for that introduction. Thanks, Kim.
Sure.
I'm really pumped to be here, guys.
Awesome. So let's rewind the clock a little bit. You have built your career on selling products and ideas, right? But do you remember the first time that you really had to sell yourself other than your wife? No, just kidding. He doesn't know, right?
No, definitely. I would say early in my career, I actually pitched myself for a role that I was really underqualified for on paper, just to be candid, right? So the job description wanted years of experience I didn't have. They knew I couldn't change my resume, right? That's not right.
Right.
So instead, I reframed my lack of experience as a strength.
Nice.
Okay, and this is key. So I made the case that I could learn faster than anyone else. I could outwork anyone in the room, and I showed them my passion, right? Because they could see it when you speak to them. And because I had no bad habits from other companies, right? I was highly coachable. I came prepared with proof from my other minor, smaller type of roles trying to scale up into this space, right? With specific results, references, to really show them I could deliver if given the chance.
That's right. I love it. So you flip the script a little bit here, huh? Turn a gap into a unique value proposition.
That's right. And, what that really taught me, guys, is from a personal branding perspective, it's less about what's on your resume, and it's more about controlling the narrative of who you are, right? So what you can deliver, why you're different, which is key, what makes you unique, right? I essentially basically sold them on the idea that my potential and my attitude were more valuable than years on the job for anyone that could have been there 20 plus years, right?
Nice.
Now, it was a pivotal lesson too, because you have to own your story, guys, right? You can't turn even perceived weaknesses into part of your unique value proposition, right?
I love that. You own your story and soul potential, not just experience. That's awesome.
That is. So even early on, like, you managed to turn a gap into an advantage, by really telling the right story, right? And some of what you were saying here made me think about a fact that I read, and this is kind of off script, guys.
I love it.
So it's about women and men and how they position themselves, and women, I guess, don't do as good a job as men in selling, their strengths, or maybe even sometimes stretching things in terms of statistics. But that's just something I read.
Well, I actually heard a
thinking.
funny stat too on this. Actually, a friend of mine, actually a really smart person, she shared that she feels women, in order for them to go for like a role or anything, they have to be 100% confident that they could do a good job.
Wow.
Yep.
On, a guy's side, right? And I was kind of joking with them, but I was like, if I feel 90% confident, I'm like, overqualified. You see what I'm saying, guys?
Right.
Because we like to take chances
That's
too,
exactly.
and go after things that you want to be hungry for, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that actually is a good point. So, in your view, Uky, what does selling yourself in the corporate world and for hacksters out there really mean day to day? So, how can a professional consistently promote their value in everyday work life?
It's a great question. Selling yourself isn't a one-time event, guys, right? It's really not. It's happening every day, every second in the workplace, outside the workplace, it does not matter. In every meeting that you attend, every email that you send, every time that your name is mentioned, someone talks about what you do, what you did, right? And you're not in the room, this is key, you're not there.
Right.
Day-to-day personal branding means consistently demonstrating value in those small moments, right?
Okay.
So how do you do that? By always being prepared, bottom line. It's a hard thing to do all the time,
Absolutely.
but you just got to train your mind to look at that. And by asking, insightful questions, don't just ask a question to ask a question, ask a good question, right? And by making people around you look good. This is key. In other words, you focus on service over self-promotion. That's how I kind of look at, how I view my life, right? So when you help the team succeed, and this is crucial, is you're indirectly showing your own value without bragging. Right?
Love that.
Because if you're adding measurable value regularly, solving problems, saving time for your team, everyone, your clients, boosting results, your reputation is going to spread naturally, right? This is just a firm, belief I have, and others start selling your strengths for you.
Yeah. No,
Nice.
And
Love
I can
that.
and I can attest to that. That's like a little off script too. Like a little side thing is that actually Uky is actually my neighbor too. We live pretty close, and I can see that a lot of times like you play that role with the neighbors too. Like you kind of make us look good in front of us. And I was like,
It's always hard. It's really hard. It's really hard, but
come on, you don't say
How you do that with this guy?
Service over self-promotion. So let's make it more concrete, right? Like, what are some little things someone can do to sell themselves in those everyday interactions?
it's another great question, right? So my biggest recommendation when I, talk to team members or whoever, right, is I often tell people to treat everyday, work moments as micro-auditions. Right? So here's a few simple habits that I recommend. Prep for every meeting. It might sound like common sense when I say prep for every meeting, but when I say that, you walk in or you log in knowing the meeting's goals, right? The key players, who's the owners, the stakeholders that's going to be key in the whole decision criteria, right? What's the successful outcome look like? You guys will be surprised how many times people waste so much time in meetings because they don't understand those key points.
And actually, let me stop you there because, just ask yourself, Hackster. I'm asking myself as he was talking, how often do I actually get prepared for the next meeting? Because usually we have back to back meeting, and by the time you finish the meeting, the next meeting, I'm just walking in without even knowing what I'm walking into. So I think that right there, how do we actually get prepared? I think is very key.
Mm-hmm.
You always need to have purpose.
Yeah.
This is key, I think. And
I like
especially with meetings, you pay a lot of people a lot of money to help, grow your company,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And just start adding in time spent in meetings. And just
Right.
start thinking about how much of that time can be allocated to, let's say, positive ROI generating actions, right?
That's good.
Yeah.
So, and what that does is that preparation shows that you take all this stuff seriously. People see that, right? And it gives you, the step ahead so that you can actually do and execute what you want to do, right? And look good at the same time. Another insightful question is, aim to ask at least one question, that's insightful, that brings clarity, saves time for everyone, and ideally reduces risk, right? Because that's the purpose of any meeting, is to try and get through that, process from start to finish. So for example, have you consider how X might impact Y? Very simple, open-ended question, right, guys? I'm also a firm believer, don't ask yes, no questions, right? You want people to speak, share their ideas, understand what their thoughts are. So this shows you're thinking critically about the team's goals, right, guys? It also can position you as a problem solver, obviously, without you having to say, hey, look at me, what I'm bringing to the table.
Yeah, very, very smart, very smart. It's not about speaking the most in a meeting, guys. It's about asking the one question that changes the direction or saves time. It becomes part of your brand at that point.
Yep. So, okay, so let's prep and ask the right question. So what's the third move that you recommend then?
Close loop.
Close loop?
So after meetings or project milestones, send a quick email, recap email. Even if it's just 3 bullet points, summarizing the outcome, next steps, and giving credit to anyone that contributed. Now, in that recap, use a we-I split. So when I say this, I'm saying share what was done, right? So we achieved X outcome, that's we as the team, right? And I contributed Y. So basically, you're subtly ensuring that your specific role is noted, right? Now, by doing this, you also make others look good, as I mentioned, but you also document your own contributions. Documentation is key. It's basically a humble brag, right, guys, in the best sense. It's also rooted in facts and shared credit. Okay, that's accountable. Now, these habits might seem small, but, they consistently remind you, and your colleagues and managers what you bring to the table. You're basically essentially selling your value through action and communication, not through boastful claims.
Yeah. I love that. And the boastful claim thing is something that I missed on the question. Like, that was, one of the key things that I want to ask Uky is...
If you sit in a meeting, if you sit in a meeting, guys, right, and there's no actionable thing at the end of that meeting, that was a total waste of time.
Yeah, and money.
Said a lot of those.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love that. We achieved and I contributed, right? So it's collaborative, but still ensures your work is isn't invisible, right? So... Such a hack. Such an
awesome hack. That makes a lot of sense, Uky. And you are essentially marketing yourself through everyday's work, not just in big moments. Right? Every little things counts. So let's connect it back to your world at ToXPAND. What are some sales principles you use with your client that professionals that's watching right now, Hackster, could apply to their personal branding?
And really quick, I do want to add, guys, is I started my roots ground floor as an account executive sales rep, right? Okay. So that's how I literally grew, my career from that base. So when I look at sales, I think it honestly covers everyone in the company, right? So the principles of selling a product or service, it really maps perfectly to selling yourself, right? That's what it comes down to. So in sales, we always start with a few fundamentals, right? Know your product, know your audience, and know your unique selling proposition, your USP. Seems pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Then you communicate that clearly and consistently. That's where it starts getting a little bit more deeper, right? Then I apply that same framework to personal branding. So for example, product equals you, right? You're the product. In your career, you are the product. This includes your skills, your experience, your results, your personality, everything you bring to the table. So be clear on what you offer. Ask yourself, what are my core strengths and skills, right? Also ask yourself, what's my weaknesses? Because you can always make your weakness into a strength, right? And what problems can I solve? Well, what do people rely on me for? That's your feature set as a product, right?
Yep. So I like that. The product equals you. It's a mindset shift for a lot of hacksters who've never thought of themselves as something people are buying into. And so just before we go on to the next section, as I'm sitting here listening to this, I'm also thinking about early in my career where some of what you're saying in these early career hacksters out there are probably feeling this. Some of what you're saying is like, is that really me? Or is that the genuine me, or now is it all kind of an act just to make me now, get the next promotion? So how do you talk to someone like that or give them advice that's feeling like they're losing some of themselves to play the game?
Actually, I'm a firm believer in this. I really am. So I kind of touched on it earlier, but when I say do what's right, okay, that also means represent yourself in the right way. So if you, you can be confident. You could also, and I kind of joked earlier about men being like, okay, 90% confidence to do something right. Yeah. But you also need to understand, hey, if someone gives me the chance, right, to do what I'm going to say that I want to do, can you say to yourself, I could execute?
Okay.
Right? Whether whether you could, whatever gray space is in your head, right? But if you tell yourself, hey, I went for the sales role, or I went for this client success role, or this engineering role, right? Whether it's entry level or senior, you see the job description, you go through this, specs, then you ask yourself, yeah, it might be hard for me, right? Or I might have to do all this stuff, but in your head, can you say, can I execute on what I'm telling these guys I can do?
Yeah.
Because nowadays, data is king, guys, and you will be proven out very quickly if you cannot execute.
Yeah,
No, absolutely.
very true.
So don't tell someone you can do something you can't do.
Yeah.
Right? Seriously.
No, definitely do not ever do that. So once you know your products, how do you make sure the right people notice?
Absolutely. So audience equals your stakeholders.
Yep.
Right? So your audience is anyone that you need to impress or influence, right, guys?
Yeah, 100%.
Your boss, your team, your senior leaders, your peers, your cross-functional partners, clients, definitely. Just like in marketing, you need to understand what your audience cares about, right? So in a workplace context, that means knowing your boss's goals, your company's values, your team's pain points, and actually believing in that, right? The goal, saying, hey, I want to solve the pain points. Yep. So when you tailor how you talk about your work to what your audience cares about, right, then it resonates much more. Yep. So that USP, right, the unique selling proposition, what sets you apart? This is your, this is your key that really starts putting you outside the box, right, guys? So in sales, a product's USP might be, we're the fastest in the class, or it costs 50% less, right? For you, as a person, it's a combination of your skills, your traits, your values that make you uniquely valuable, right? That's what you're selling. So maybe you're a creative thinker that also executes on time, or you're the engineer who can translate tech talk for business teams, right? Figure out what you do better or differently than most other people around you and make that a key part of your personal brand narrative. Everyone knows what they're good at, guys, right? So it's like, how do you incorporate that, layer that into everything that you engage with?
So you said everyone knows, but let's talk about an early career person who may not exactly know what makes them unique yet. So how do they start figuring out their USP?
It's a great question too. So while you can never be like 100% sure, I get it, guys, right? But you also know if you're good with people, right? You also know if you're comfortable, reading a lot of numbers, right? Things like that. But, that's where feedback comes in, right? Ask people, what do you count on me for, guys, right? You'll start to see patterns. That's the foundation of your USP, basically.
Like
And this isn't just theory. To expand company, it has its own USP, right?
Yes, thank you. So at ToXPAND, right? So for instance, our company's USP is delivering first-party, fully opt-in leads with total transparency and ROI tracking for our clients.
Say it in a more.
So we pause on that. It's basically what we do as a company is we do help our clients, other companies generate pipeline, generate revenue, right? Okay. That's what we sell at the core. Oh. So we win clients, though, because we do something a little bit differently and better for them, hopefully, right, than your typical demand gen providers. I've been in this space for close to 20, over 20 years, et cetera, as you guys, touched on. And I've seen a lot, right? I've seen a lot. So with that in mind, you also see the good and the bad, right? And what you want to do is likewise in your career, you see all this stuff. You want to be known for something distinctive, right? One more thing is whether it's sales or personal branding, is all of this has to be wrapped in trust and integrity. Bottom line. So my compass at ToXPAND is doing what's right always. That's actually one of our company's sayings. That's what we put into our marketing messages, right? That translates to personal branding too, guys, right? Is if you consistently deliver value and act with integrity, as corny as that sounds, right? Your reputation will become your best marketing tool.
Yep.
Bottom line. The real win is when is when people believe not just in what you do, but in why you do it,
Yep.
right?
That is actually a part that we are coming up with.
Yeah, the why.
The power of
why.
And they trust your character,
Yes.
right, guys? And then so define your product, like we touched on, your audience, your USP, and live out your values. Over time, you'll become known for that. Of what unique value you're providing to everyone else.
Great reminder, right? Your USP isn't just about being different. It's also about being trusted. Pod coming up for that. Otherwise, no one buys in. Out of curiosity, what's your personal USP, Uky? What's yours? And if you had to sum up your own career brand in one line, what would you say?
I love that. So my one-liner, right, is something I fine-tuned it over the years. I would say, typically if someone asks me what I do, is I'd say, hey, you know what, guys? I build transparent first-party demand engines that convert, right? So growth leaders can see, trust, and scale their pipeline. I do what's right always. Mm-hmm. It's a mouthful, but it also packs in what I do to drive scalable growth through quality leads, right? And how I do it is transparently with full consent data, which is also very important nowadays. And why I do it, right? Because doing what's right builds trust, which fuels growth. That statement mirrors my company's mission and my personal ethos.
I love that. So it's clear and it's tied to your work, to your core principle of trust. It's not just what you do, it's how you and why you do it.
So, Uky, amazing so far, right? So let's get practical for a minute. If someone listening out there right now is early in their career, or maybe mid-career and stuck, what's the first hack they can do this week to rebrand themselves?
Well, Kim, hold that thoughts because we are already like almost 20 plus minutes, and I think Hackster is already getting tired. So we're going to pause here and pick up in part 2 because that's where we get into the real hack that what Kim was mentioning, the stretch project, rebranding the mid-career, even managing your LinkedIn and remote presence.
All right, in the meantime, guys, go to our website, check out articles, other things that we have there, and then part 2 of Brand New drops next week, only here on Hack Yea.
So before we wrap part 1, again, big thank you to our guest today, Uky Chong. Thank you so much. Seriously, this first half was packed with wisdom and how your own story and sell yourself in authentically.
Yep. Yes, and of course, shout out to behind the scenes again, Dominique Aiden, who make Hack Yea happen every week. Couldn't do it without you.
And to our Hackster tuning in, if you are enjoying this conversation, make sure you hit the subscribe button and share with your peers and Hacksters so you don't miss part 2 for sure.
And as I said before, just go to our website and find all type of information in the interim while you're waiting for part 2.
Yep, and hey, let's keep building this community together. Join us in LinkedIn, Facebook. We had our community set up there. Just search for Hack Yea and you will find us there.
All right, leave a comment, drop a review. Let us know what hacks you're applying. We read everything. It helps keep making us better in the interim.
So before we wrap, we'll be back with part 2 behind a brand new selling yourself for career success with Uky Chong. And if you don't want to miss it, follow us continuously.
Until then, keep hacking your career. Keep saying,
Hack
Yea!
It's Hack Yea. We're breaking the mold. Code breakers here dropping gems of gold. From boardroom plays to cubicle hacks. We crack the code so you don't fall flat.
And I'm the Pathfinder, clearing the way, helping you rise up every work day. From first jobs to next level tracks, we teach what works, no fluff, just facts.